Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to make some cards, some tea, Alice in Wonderland-y type cards using my collection with Craft Stash, and it's going to be on special starting today through, I believe it's the 26th. The sale's going to go on for 2 weeks and you can take 15% off anything in my collection, everything in my collection with the coupon code CRAFTER15. I will put that in the video description, so if you've been thinking about picking up maybe some of the dies or stamps, then it's a good time to do it. And I'll just show you a quick overview of what they are in case you're not familiar. I'll just zoom out a little bit. So basically what we have is we've got watercolor postcards that you can paint and cut up or use them as postcards or craft with them, whatever you want. That way, if you don't want to stamp, you can still have fun with the kit. We've got a paper pack, and we're going to use that today. We've got background stamps. We have stamps and dies, matching dies. That's all. The stamps and dies there are in one set. Then we have library pocket die, and actually the die set, you get a library pocket and a book card and book card sleeve, and we're going to use that today. There are other dies available. There is a set of embellishment dies that give you some book plates and some kind of like jumbo postcard, kind of like postcard size. I'd say stamp, but they're bigger than stamp. And then we do a stamp die. Notebook die, luggage tag die, that sort of thing. We've got borders that we're not going to use today, but we did use in a previous video, and buttons, which we will use today. And that's the stamp and die combination there. And the postcards, I only have a couple left of those, but they're postcard packs as well on watercolor paper, if that's something that you're interested in. And they're just kind of, you know, they're kind of an expansion of the old Paper Craft Society collection I did a few years ago, because people that weren't subscribers to that wanted to get some of those elements, so we kind of revamped it and upsized it and did that. So if you have this, there will be some similarities. But, you know, it's kind of the same vibe. If you like that vibe and you want more of it, then you can, you know, pick and choose from the collection if you want to. I just keep mine in a binder so it's easy to access. And these are the cards we're going to make today. We've got this one with a little, the little bookmark here in the little bookmark sleeve. I love stuff like this because it's fun to give with like a gift card to a bookstore, or something like this where you can just put like a little tea packet in there. If someone's having a rough time, you want to send a hug in the mail. I like that. I think it's a really thoughtful thing to do. And hopefully that won't be enough to add extra bulk for extra postage. I'm not sure, but the buttons are die cut, so they're nice and flat. They're not going to get caught in machinery when you send them through the mail. And then this one here, I thought it'd be cute to put the little tea packet right in the library card pocket, right in the front. So yeah, there's lots of different things you can do. Now, fun thing about this project is I actually used some of the little boxes that my tea came in, and I got this tea from my, actually I got this tea from my daughters, who got them from my sister. My sister got me a set of Alice in Wonderland tea in a tin, and they were just like kind of like naked tea bags, but the girls got these tea bags that actually came in these wonderful little boxes. And so I've actually been saving the boxes and kind of cutting embellishments out of the boxes with my dies, and the dies will cut this chipboard material just beautifully. And then we've got these beautiful tea bags that are just like little mini works of art themselves. So I thought, what a fun thing to do. And the tea quality is actually really nice. This is a British tea company called Char Brew. And it's kind of hard to find in the United States. You might luck out and find them at like TJ Maxx or Marshall's. But otherwise, I mean, Amazon does have some. They don't have this set, unfortunately. But any sort of tea, like I know like Twinings and Bigelow come in their individual like packs like this. I think Stash and Yogi Tea do as well. And those are all good brands that make really delicious teas. So whatever your favorite tea is, you could use. And Celestial Seasonings has beautiful tea boxes too. So if you are looking for something with a pretty box that you can upcycle, then it's a great thing to do. So I'm going to start off with the stamping so we can let our stamping dry a bit. And I have already went ahead and die cut some little bookmarks that will go on our bookmark thing and our sleeve. And I have the best intentions of getting everything ready, and I have everything in like so organized, like little dishes and stuff. And then like the first thing I need, I can't find. All right, so we've got our little bookmarks here. I want to color these with alcohol markers, and the reason I want to do that is I know that's not going to transfer into a book if it's used as a bookmark, and I like to color with alcohol markers. So I die cut this out of Neenah Classic crest cardstock. Any smooth white cardstock or Bristol would work really well for this technique. And if you want to use your water-based markers, I would recommend using either a hot press watercolor paper or a Bristol cardstock. So if you buy Bristol, and it can be purchased, I think I even have a pad of it to show, I can show you. Bristol is a wonderful product. This one right here is pretty good. It's from Strathmore and pretty affordable. And there's also Canson XL, which is pretty affordable. That works great with your water-based markers and your alcohol markers. So if you want to have one product that will do it all, I would highly just recommend grabbing that. But since I had the Neenah cardstock and I really like that with alcohol markers, I just went ahead and die cut it out of that. So when I'm going to do some die cutting, one of the things I like to do is take an old sketchbook, especially if I know that I'm never going to finish the sketchbook, and I will just open it up to a fresh page and I'll do my my stamping there. And that just really helps. Hopefully my camera will stay focused. Sometimes when I have a lot of white paper, it doesn't want to stay focused in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this wider one first, and I'm going to stamp the peony from my kit. And a little tip here, if you don't have stamp mounts, maybe you're buying the stamps and you're like, I don't know if I really am that into stamping, but I want to try it out. You can go to the dollar store and you can get the clear acrylic picture frames, like the magnetic ones you put on the fridge, and you can use that for a stamp mount. And then just use a pad of paper, an old catalog, something like that as your stamping surface. And then as far as ink pads, these little mementos, these tiny little dewdrops, they're quite affordable. You can get them in a set of 4 colors, like get one with a black, a brown, a red, and a green. Then you got Christmas and, you know, all occasions kind of covered, which is what you probably use the most of. And then if I get outside when I'm inking it up, if I get some ink out here, I'll just wipe it off with a rag, and that will make it so I don't transfer it where I don't want it to. So yeah, that way you can kind of get into the stamping without, you know, if you're not sure if you really like it, without going too far off the rails. I'm going to tip this so it's kind of like the peony is growing off the page. And the thing I like actually about using like the old sketchbook or old catalog for my squishy surface, and using like a Dollar Tree picture frame or just an even scrap of plexiglass, is that it has a little bit of a flex, so I can kind of walk my fingers around and make sure I'm getting a really good impression. That way you don't have to have an expensive stamp positioner or any fancy tools. You know, you can get a good result with what you have. Now, you notice that I'm chit-chatting, right? I'm talking, I'm letting this just hang out here and vibe a bit. You got to give your ink enough time to transfer off the stamp. So I think with the proliferation of stamp platforms, which are like it almost looks like a book that you put your stamp on one side and your paper on the other, and you close it down and you can restamp as many times as needed. I think with the proliferation of that, which I think is a great tool to help people get really good designs, I think we kind of forget some basic stamping techniques sometimes. So that will just help you get a really nice image. Now, if you do get a little ink off, like I got some ink on the edge of my stamp, I didn't realize it. Don't worry about that. That's going to be covered up when we do our background technique. That I'll show you the finished card again. What I mean, we're going to do a background technique here that is so forgiving. So don't worry if you get a little off. I typically will not restamp just because I got a little smudge somewhere. The next one, we're actually going to stamp something twice, but we're just gonna separate them. We're not going to do any masking or anything fancy. So again, I'm going to ink up my my stamp. Now don't worry that this stamp is small. The pad is raised so it can cover the whole image. You don't have to have a huge stamp pad, which is a great way to save money when you're starting and stamping, or if you don't have a lot of space and you're kind of concerned about what is this hobby going to do to my life. Am I going to have to like dedicate a whole basement to it? Am I going to have a spare bedroom? Am I going to have a room of 4 like Lindsay has? That's kind of scary. You know, you absolutely do not need that. So I'm going to stamp this a couple times. Again, I'm going to give the ink a chance for it to go off of the stamp. Now, this is a store-bought stamp mount. I like this one. It's from Lawn Fawn. It's nice and thick and it's got nice grippies. And since the stamp is good quality, I'm going to get a good impression. I don't have to have a flexible stamp, but if you do have some cheaper stamps that aren't giving you a good result, Dollar Tree picture frame, man, you'll be able to, you know, get those nooks and crannies. I know Dollar Tree does have some stamps for sale, so if you're going to buy some stamps there, you definitely want to have a mount that is going to have a little flexibility, just in case there's any uneven silicone or any bubbles or anything like that, any imperfections in the design. Now that I think I stamped pretty well. I'm going to give it a little turn so this one's facing the other way, I'm not going to overlap these. Now, if I wanted to overlap these, I'm going to show you a little trick while we're just vibing and letting that ink transfer. So in my binder where I store my stamps, I have what's called some masks. So here, this is the sheet of my stamps. On this little sheet of paper behind it, I have stamped on Post-it notes and cut them out. And that way, say I wanted to stamp another one, but I wanted to have it look like it's behind this, I'll show you what I would do. This is really too small for me to fit another one in there, but this is what I would do. Okay, so, and we got a really nice impression there. So, and if I did skip a little bit there, but we can fix that later, not a big deal. So what I would do, say I wanted to stamp another one in there, is I would put a mask on top, and then I could stamp over it, and it would look like it's peeking out from behind. So we don't need to do that for this project, but that's a really great technique, and you can, you know, search stamp masking on my YouTube channel, and you can find, or my blog, and you can find a more detailed video on that from a few years ago. So we're going to set that aside. We're going to let these dry while we go and do our next thing, which is prepare our card bases. All right, so I've got a couple of craft card bases. I'm actually going to bring this, I'm going to bring my scoring tool out here. You don't need to have this as a beginner if you are a beginner, but it is a tool that I would recommend if you like to make paper crafts, because it's really handy for making boxes. It's really handy for getting really nice folds on your cards. And I took a piece of craft cardstock and I simply cut it in half and scored and folded it. So I've got two nice little bases there. I am going to take some of my pattern papers from my kit that I trimmed down. I trimmed into quarters basically, and I'm going to glue them down. Now sometimes I don't cut very well. And then, oh, actually I just had them on different ones. Yeah, my paper trimmer is like so old. It's from back when I would teach kids classes, and it will take, I can cut mat board in that thing. It is super strong, super durable. I really like it, but what it isn't super is accurate. So sometimes things are a little bit off, but hey, I'm a little bit off, so it doesn't bother me. And I'm just gonna center these up so I have a little bit of a reveal of the craft paper underneath. That wasn't super straight. Let's see if we can try that one more time with feeling here. There we go. Pretty big, you know, and hey, you want to do a simple card, you get a card base, you get a nice quality cardstock. This is, I think this one's from Joann's. It's their heavyweight cardstock by Park Lane. They offer it in a variety of colors. I like the cream and the craft because their white is actually a little bit gray. So I like the cream and the craft from the Joann one. If you're looking for some, and I find those are very easy colors to work with. If you want a bright white heavyweight card base, I like the Michaels heavyweight card base, or the it's a Hammer Spring Digital Spring. It's by International Paper. I'll try to find it. I know I ordered it from Amazon, but I got like the 110 or 120 pound stuff, and that stuff is so heavy. I'll link it down below in case you're curious about it, because obviously you could use white for any card base, but I do like the vintage look and the warmth of a craft card base, but that's just me. Make sure you just get a really nice card base, and then it really elevates it. Of course, if you have cardstock already and you're trying to use it up, obviously use that up first. But if you're buying new, that would be my advice. I actually think that Staples heavyweight cardstock, at least it used to be pretty decent. The cream anyway. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fold up our little bookmark sleeve and library pocket. So these I die cut out of Vellum. Vellum is just really pretty for this sort of thing because you can kind of see through it. And both of these are kind of specialty vellums. This one has music notes printed on it, and this one has confetti embedded on it. And so one thing I did with my score tool is I took a Sharpie and at the 6-inch mark, I drew a line down, so it makes it easier to score boxes. And it can be kind of difficult to see what line you're into. Now this is the Score Pal 8s, so it's got measurements every 1/8 of an inch. They also have metric versions, so I would if you're going to get a scoring tool, I would get whatever is most useful to you. I know there are cheaper ones on the market. I've just used this one. I don't need to replace it. It's great, you know. I actually upgraded from the one that had like 1/4 inches for the most part to this one, and I gave that other one away. It was still perfectly good, but I like that that I have a lot more flexibility here. Okay, so I'm lining it up corner to corner where I can see the little divots there. And I'm just scoring it with the tool that comes with it. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But by having this dark line, it makes it really easy to line up and figure out where I am. I hope that makes sense. I don't feel like I explain card making stuff very well. Card making to me honestly feels so much more complicated than painting sometimes. Oh, you know what? I think I probably should have not scored that one, and I should have scored this one. But, oh well. So generally, you are going to fold against the part you scored. And vellum is a type of like a plastic, so you gotta be careful when you fold it. It's gonna give you a dark line, and when you, or a distinct line, and also when you score it will. Oh, I kind of regret not. You know what? I'm gonna just leave that. Pretend. Don't score the short piece. Leave that open. But I did, and that's fine. I'm gonna score this one though. I want this one folded up. I don't want such a large flap on my card. Oops. You know what? I should be scoring on the side of the paper because I want it to fold the other way. Does this really matter that much? Probably not. Honestly. There you go. And now I am going to adhere this down. Actually, do I even need to adhere it? I'm just going to do a couple little tacks of clear tape right here. It's funny, I'll make a card and then make sure I know what I'm doing, and then I'll film it, and still I managed to have some errors, but oh well. I'm just deciding which side I want. I think I'm going to have this side up and have that metallic showing. You can go either way, because you'll see some of the front and some of the back. So if you have double-sided paper and you make this library pocket out of double-sided paper, that would be really pretty because you'll see both sides, just like you do in the vellum. You'll see both sides. Oh, am I scoring on the wrong side again? Yeah, I am. Not that it really matters all that much, but let's just do it right. I don't know if people like the real-time card making tutorials. I don't know if there's anybody, if many people that still watch my channel like card making tutorials, because it's been so long. I've abandoned my poor card makers. I think I get overwhelmed. I've noticed, like, as I've gotten older, the level of clutter that I can deal with is much lower, and the complex, like, painting is complex, but it doesn't take a lot of materials, and I find that when I start making cards, I tend to get everything out but the kitchen sink, and it gets kind of overwhelming. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is tie a little piece of ribbon around this, just for a little bit of texture. And right here, now this ribbon here, every once in a while I will take my seam binding, which is this rayon ribbon, and I will dye it a bunch of different colors. And I have this in a 1/4 inch wide and a 1/2 inch wide by the company Hug Snug, and I bought a big spool of it, like of 100 yards, so many years ago, and it is so pretty when you dye it. You can do it with spray ink or leftover fabric dye or whatever. It's just so pretty. And then I will crunch it up and let it dry, and it holds a beautiful crinkle. And it was all the rage a few years ago, but I just can't let this trend die. I enjoy the look of it so much. That's not very balanced, but that's seriously, that's fine. That's a little lopsided. Well, let's see if we can do that better. I think tying bows are probably my not my forte. That word can be pronounced either way, I learned. I Google the most random things. Okay. Our ink's going to be good and dry by the time we get around to coloring it. Oh goodness. Goodness gracious. Okay. I find that if I tie a bow upside down, it works better. The tails hang right when I do that. I don't know why. Just something I observed. I also realized I have a hard time tying a bow on camera. That's why we get this wide shot, baby. We get a nice wide shot, because otherwise it's not going to be in frame. Okay, Now, let's see, which were we going to do? We're going to do the lighter vellum on the lighter card and the darker vellum on the darker card. And let's just set that there. We're going to do this one kitty corner. Yeah, I can hardly see that I messed up on the, see if I didn't have the shorter piece unfolded, if I had the longer piece, it would have stuck up off the end, and that's not what we want. All right, this adhesive actually does pretty well on vellum. This is just a Scotch ATG gun. I use the generic refills from the Tape Depot, and honestly, I think I heard that Scotch isn't doing the 1/4" refills anymore. Like they're discontinuing the pink gun. Maybe I'm wrong, but I seem to remember that. But anyway, let's stick that pocket down. We're going to stick this pocket down on the other one. But I like that it doesn't really show on the vellum too much, because vellum is really pretty, but it can show adhesive. So I just try to be neat generally when I'm gluing it down. If it does show, it's neat. It was not neat in that particular instance, but yeah, you know what? We're gonna do our best, and really that's all we can do, isn't it? Okay, I don't need to do any more scoring, so we're gonna put this guy away. But Score Pal, try to remember to link that below too. Really like that product. I've been using it for, oh my gosh, probably since I started the channel about 14 years ago. All right, now let's do a little bit of a collage. I like to collage. I was chilling my Jane Davenport right there with the way I pronounced it too. Oh my goodness, Jane is great. Okay, so I got these stickers. I picked these up from, oh, you know what I think? I think what happened was I found these on Amazon. I think I put them on my wish list, and my husband got me these for my birthday. And I don't know if they're still available, but oh, that's pretty. I like this one. But if they are, I will link them down below. They were not very expensive. Let's zoom in a little bit. I feel like we're so far away. There we go. Isn't that nice? So intimate. Oh, good grief. Good grief. Okay, so now we're going to stick this little butterfly sticker down, and that's going to help hold our vellum together. That's why I didn't put adhesive under there, because I knew this guy. And these little washi tape stickers, and at first I didn't know they were stickers. I thought it was a paper pad, and I was like gluing down the thing, like the paper and all, and I'm like, then I realized at some point, hey, these are stickers. Oh, didn't I feel silly? Okay, so let's also do a little embellishing with some washi tape rolls. Now, washi tape, oh my gosh, do you collect washi tape? I have so much washi tape, it's kind of ridiculous. But the thing that's really fun about this tape here is that it is actually their little postage stamp washi tapes. And I got a set of 8 of these on Amazon. I don't think that they're still available, unfortunately, but I thought, gosh, those are so pretty. I'm gonna put one of these right here, overlapping my vellum. This one has little Alice in Wonderland things. This one was a tea-themed one, or maybe just Victorian-themed one, because it's got a lot of really pretty little shoo-shoo, foo-foo, little feminine things that I love. I love kind of that, I don't know, Victorian feminine type style, and they're fun to stick on these. They really are. I also want to do some embellishing with some of the button die cuts from the kit, and also some sentiment die cuts. So actually the buttons are a die. You have to cut them out of your own paper. They don't come done. These are die cuts. Die cuts. These are dies that you cut yourself, and these are die cuts, meaning they're already done for you. So so that's nice. I kind of also think, do I want to introduce another ribbon? No, because I'm going to have a ribbon on that bookmark. That'll be fine. All right, and I've got a variety of other little doodads here that I cut. I think I'm going to use a copper buttons over here, because, oh, or maybe over there. Gosh, they're pretty everywhere. They're just lovely, and I've got plenty. Let's do copper on this one. I just did craft ones on the other one, but then I realized I was running kind of low in the craft button department, so I thought, well, oh, you know what? I got enough to do both of these. So a little trick that, I have a couple little tricks for buttons, and I've shown them so many times, you're probably like, oh my gosh, Lindsay, we're so sick of the button trick, we know it. You've only told us 5 million times in every card making video you ever do, because you don't have very many new techniques for as long as you've been doing this. Oh, but one thing I like to do is I like to take cording, which is like this stuff right here, and I like to thread my buttons with it because I don't need to thread a needle if I do that. Because, to be honest, I'm rather lazy. So, what you do is you just take this is just like bracelet cording, I think. You can get it at like any craft store in like the jewelry section or the kids craft section generally. I think you could probably find this out at like Walmart. They use it for like those braiding. Those scissors are so dull. I really need to sharpen those little cutter bees. So they're fine for everything except for like ribbon or fabric. They are very dull for that. And I could swap it up. I could do pink on one and green on the other. That might be, let's do that. That's interesting. That's a little more interesting maybe. You can also do slivers of cardstock. That's my other trick. It's not actually my trick. I learned it from another card maker. But you just take a sliver of cardstock and you thread it through the holes. And that's best if you're going to glue it to the back rather than tying it in a knot. But that also looks kind of like thread, and you're using up scraps and you don't have to thread a needle. When you're deciding what side to be up on your die cuts, I like to choose a side that's got the rounded over edges to be up. But you can do whatever you like because it's your card. And let's see, so these guys, I like them mismatched. I like having them mismatched, so maybe I'll do that over here as well. Do some green and some pink. So, you know what, I'm just going to thread these with string and we'll be right back. All right, now we're going to glue down those buttons that we have added thread to. And you do want a wet glue for that, or at least something thick because, you know, we've got that lumpiness from the string. So double-sided tape isn't quite going to hack it. And I'm just using this gem tack. Now this is a single serve glue. Not really single serve because you can get quite a few projects out of it, but I really like these because I don't craft as much. I have quite a few little specialty glues, but I don't use any of them fast enough before they go bad and harden in the container, especially like super glues or Gorilla Glues. So by having something like this where you can have, you know, you can have what you would use up in like the course of a month in a little tiny tube like this, it just works really well for me. So I don't end up wasting quite so much. And I don't know, I thought that might help you too, especially with super glues though. I mean, the super glues, I never can use those up before they harden. Little Gorilla Glues, the Gorilla Glues too. And then just get the cap on it and then you can set it aside. But yeah, I think you can get like a pack that has several of these, and that way, I mean, there is a little bit more packaging, but no waste. So yeah, your money goes a little bit further. And I think overall, if you get to use most of your product, it is less wasteful. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is make a couple embellishments using, I'm just going to set that aside, using these little tea boxes. So I don't know, I love to save pretty little things, and packaging always gets me. When I'm grocery shopping, I will try a new tea if it comes in a cute package. So what I'm going to do is cut this box open. Now, another thing you can do actually with cute boxes that you think you might want to, like, I don't know, make a template for and maybe wrap a gift in, is you can actually flatten out a box and save it and then trace it and make your templates that way. I think sometimes we forget about those really easy things when, you know, we're so used to using digital die cutters and stuff. But I think this is just a great way to make your own ephemera and really enjoy that beautiful packaging that so many things come in. You know, there's nothing wrong with enjoying that. I'm going to cut these panels apart so I can fit them through my die cutter. I do have some other die cutters that had been gifted to me or that I bought on clearance, you know, to have a backup, but I go to my Big Shot. I go back to my Big Shot every time. It is not the best for super detailed dies just because it's old, but I just love how reliable it is and how quickly you can die cut with it. It takes fewer cranks and all that. So I've got a magnetic plate there. You can use whatever place you have, whatever you like. And I'm going to cut my postage stamp die and frame. And hopefully I can fit her in. Oh yeah, she'll fit in there. I just want to make sure I can get enough of her in there so that it makes sense. Maybe I'll even do it on an angle like that. I think that would be kind of cute. All right, let's move that over. And then to mat it, I think I will just use, oh, you know what? That one's got a little, that's got a little cut in it. Let's use this right here to make our matting layer. Oops, I think that might be hanging off the edge a little bit too much. Get in there. There's little magnets in this plate, so it wants to make it dance around a bit. I think that's going to be fine though. One little postage stamp this way. I just love how kind of irreverent it is when you just take something like this. Could be a clothing tag, could be a cereal box, a tea box. I just love it. It's just so unique. Nobody's going to go to the store and buy that embellishment. It's ephemeral. It's something that we all could have access to because it is a mass-produced product that we're recycling or upcycling, but you're not going to go and buy that embellishment. That's going to make your card completely your card, and I just think that's really something special and sweet. And plus the artwork, I mean, there's so much beautiful artwork on our packaging. Let's really appreciate that. And then this one, I love her sitting in the chair. This chai tea was so good. I would love to just buy a box of that. I could tip that on its side too, but I think I will keep that one straight across. And just, I'm going to situate it up a little bit higher so we get all of her in there. Oops, I got to move it over the edge though, or we're not going to fit both pieces. And again, this piece that does not have the cut in it. I tend to prefer more basic dies myself than fussy dies, and maybe that's because of my die cutter machine being older. And it, you know, just cuts more reliably, and I want to put it through once and call it a day. And that's what you're going to find with my dies in my kit, is there are some kind of little lacy edges, like there's a die that makes this right here, but that's as detailed as it gets. And that, you know, you don't need anything fancy, you don't need fancy shims, fancy anything to get that to cut good. So that was, I don't like to fuss. I really don't like to fuss. All right. And I'm going to stick those right on there, so hopefully I don't lose them, and set this aside. A lot of times I'll keep those magnetic bowls you can get at Harbor Freight. Oftentimes they'll have like those like free with purchase, those magnetic bowls, and I love those for keeping my dies, my sewing pins organized. And I can use double-sided tape here because it's paper to paper. Oh, look at that. Look at the artwork. It's like beautiful pattern paper. The Mad Hatter, a little kitten, little teapot. Oh, so cute. I love it. And see what I mean about like you always want to use your dies with the die facing down on the right side of your paper. So you'll get a nice, like kind of over, oh, I could have lined that up better. You'll get a nice, round over on the front, which looks very finished, which looks nicer than fussy cutting, and it has a little special look to it that you don't see in that you don't really see with like digital die cutting, which I think makes it just a little bit different and kind of special. All right, I'm kind of thinking maybe I will lift up that washi tape sticker and put that under, layer it under, because this is translucent, so I'll be able to see Alice. There, I like that. Oh, I think that's pretty. All right, and this one we're just going to adhere down with our double-sided tape. just tucking it under that button. I like things overlapping. I think that looks nice. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now on this card, I'm actually going to make a little pocket on the inside to stick a tea bag. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some adhesive down each side and along the bottom. Probably go a little bit higher with that adhesive even. Then when I'm putting my paper in for the pocket, I just kind of close up the card a little bit so I can kind of butt it up against there and make sure the card's going to close nicely. So it won't be bulky or pop open on you. There. And I had this little sliver left over from, is it wide enough? It's going to be wide enough. We're going to line it up so it looks okay. Ah, there we go. That wasn't too shabby. And then I'm just going to decorate it with some of these little, something from my washi tape pads here. Oh, that's cute. I'm not going to use that on the, I'm going to put that just on the, I also like to decorate the inside of the cards. Not only is it nice to like tuck little things in, but I usually don't have great ideas of what to say in cards. So having something like that I could just, let's put a flower in there. I mean a twig. Having something that's like taking up some of the space makes it so I don't have to write so many words. And we can do our little washi tape stickers. Where did I put those? And do you lose your stuff when you're crafting? I feel like I'm always losing my stuff. And I organized it before I got started. I made the card so I knew what I was going to do. And then I still lose my stuff. Yeah, you don't have to go crazy. I think things in threes look nice though. So let's do another little... Let's do another something. Could glue another button down. Oh, you know what I could do? That looks so light though. I don't really... If that was vellum, that would work a little bit better. We'll just do this up here. And then we'll be able to stick our little... What are we going to use? We're going to use afternoon tea. Oh, that's lovely. See, that's cute. You open it up and it's like, ooh, and then of course you could always write over here, so there's no law saying you have to write on one side or the other. All right, so our little bases are done. We'll be able to put our tea bag right in there. And now let's move on to some coloring. That's fun. That's always fun to do. And we're going to start off with our little images here. So because it's going to get kind of repetitive, we are going to... you know, I'll give you the gist. I don't need to color both of these entirely because that'll be a little bit boring. But I'll give you some tips and tricks as we go along. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use the same color way for both of these. I have some greens and I've got some pinks, and these are just a generic marker. Hotu is the name. They kind of look like Ohuhus. They're bullet and chisel, very affordable on Amazon. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but I will say that it's easier if you have a brush tip. These aren't brush tip, but if you have a brush tip marker, it's a lot easier. Let's start with, I'm just going to set that aside while I start with this one. So one of the easiest ways to color would be to start by base coating. And I'm going to base coat with this light pink. And I don't go right out to the edge. I'll go pretty close to the edge, but I'm going to leave a gap because I don't want to flood this paper. And alcohol marker generally will be nice and smooth. It doesn't streak too badly as long as you have the right paper. And you'd be using a brush tip for this in general. But since I have a bullet and a chisel, which a lot of us do, I think a lot of us start off with those. Back in the day, man, that's what you would get. You would get a bullet and a chisel, and you would be very thankful to have it. But now we've got brush and markers and they're way easier to use. But maybe you're on a budget and you're like, I don't know how much of that, I don't know if I'm really going to like them. So, you know, you decide to go with less expensive options. Nothing wrong with that. So then after I've got that base, that lighter one, and you know what? Let's just do 2 colors for this. Let's just ease it. Let's go easy here. So now I'm going to go with a little bit of a darker color. And so what I will often do here is, especially if I'm new or I'm out of practice, I'll put in my my next shade. And if you're getting a set that doesn't have, like, say 120 colors, you're probably going to have to jump a bit. So you're not going to have those 2 colors that would blend perfectly right next to each other. So then what I would do is I would grab that lighter color, I would color over the darker, and just spread it right out to the edge. And that gives you a really pretty gradient, and it's very easy to do. And I will keep both of these uncapped as I'm going, because especially when you're doing pinks, reds, purples, blues, those are more difficult to blend. And you're not going to dry them out in that short of a time. Any place you see the hatching lines, those darker lines on the stamp, that's where you want to add your darker color. So I did some simple kind of like hatching on my stamp design so it'd be easy to color. And if you don't like the blend that you've got, you can always just base coat it and then go in with a colored pencil and do your shading, and that's going to look really nice as well. So you want to continue on in this fashion for all of your petals, and that's pretty easy. This is just a simple 2-color blend, and then when you get a little quicker, you can do a couple petals at a time, and then that really helps you save time a bit. It's not so much pressure either. When you're doing this, it's more ink flow than it is pressure. Take your time around the edges. And I usually am looking straight down on this, and I would have my head in the way typically if I was coloring this, so I might go a little out of the edges just because I'm not kind of sitting like I normally would be. But yeah, see, just put your darker color where you see the lines and then blend it out. And things that are closer to you or folded over are going to be in highlight generally. And you also, I like to have a piece of paper underneath, like an old pad or catalog or whatever. I use that old sketch pad that I'm not interested in filling because I have other ones I prefer, but I don't want to throw it away. That's what I use it for, and that will collect your extra. It'll collect your extra ink, and it won't dirty the back of it. Generally, sometimes if you have a plastic sheet, that ink will puddle behind your cardstock, and then you can end up smearing it on stuff, and well, that's kind of a pain. So just keep on continuing on with this fashion for the rest of the pink leaves. Another technique you can do if the 2-color blend is a little, is giving you a little trouble, maybe you have a color that isn't blending very well or you don't have that many colors, is you can just layer up the same color again. So you can do the same exact thing that we did with that secondary color, but you can just do it with a 3rd color and build up your layers. Kind of like if you were shading with a little more pressure with a pencil. You know, and then you can color a lot quicker if you want to do that. That's handy if maybe you have just one pastel color and your next color that you have is just way darker and isn't going to blend very well. You can just go in with a stronger concentration, another layer. And you can always try that, and then if it's not giving you the depth that you want, then you can go in a few areas with a darker color while it's still wet, and it will be a little bit easier to blend out because the ink will be wet and it won't stain the paper yet. You know, so there's a lot of different things you can try. If you have some markers and you've been frustrated with them, or just you don't know where to go, where to start, just play with them. I mean, that's with any of your supplies. And I'm not spending a lot of time, I'm not doing anything fancy, but it's going to look cute. It's going to look good. And for something you're going to mail off that may be kept, may not be kept, who knows, you know, have fun with it, you know, just enjoy. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is the shading for the leaves here. And Greens generally blend pretty well, so you don't really need to prime the leaf like we did with the petals. So what I'll do, I'm going to do a 3 color blend here. You don't have to do that many colors if you don't want to. I'm going to start here where I have the shading on this leaf with my darkest color. Then I'm going to go to my next color down, the next darkest color. Because greens just blend easily, I don't feel like I really need to prime it. And then I'll go in with my lightest tone. Especially on small things like that, because if you get too much ink in, you might just get feathered edges. I think I want a little bit more of that medium color in there, so I'm going to go in and add a little bit more. And that's how I would do the leaves. You don't have to be too fancy, too particular. I'm going to use the darker color to do the stems, especially up here. And remember, if you just want to do something with a light, with the, you know, base coat it with your lighter color, and then go in with colored pencils for shading, that's totally fine. That'll look fabulous. And that way you don't have to have a ton of markers. And if having that real dark color, you don't like it, just do a 2 color blend. Go in with your medium color in the darks. Just blend it out with a lighter one. These colors aren't too different from each other, so they're pretty easy to blend together. I probably could have gone a little bit, have a little bit of a lighter shade for a little more contrast and drama, but I think that's going to work just fine for this. Now, if you make a mistake and you get ink outside of the lines, what you can do is take your clear marker that comes in a lot of your sets, or you can buy them on their own, and color the mistake away. So let's see, let me take this off there so I have some nice contrast. Let me find, I've got a few areas where I went out of the lines. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So I've got a little bit of pink outside of the lines here, so I would just color right up to that line. I generally make sure it's dry before I do this, so just be patient. Something to do a little bit later. I got a little bit of green outside of the stem there, so I'm just going to color right up to the line. A lot of times, if you have a brush chisel marker, use a chisel for this, because that, I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems to work a little bit better. Got a little bit right here where it's out of the line. Now, we're going to do a background technique. Don't get too bothered by this, but you know, it's just a great way to fix those mistakes if you have them. So the next coloring technique I'm going to show you is, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because we're using darker colors, but to do these poppies, I'm actually going to just, I might as well stay zoomed in, but I got to keep some of that black on the camera or it's not going to focus. Again, I'm going to prime it with, okay, so I'm just going to use all of these reds. So I've got a really dark red, I've got 2 mediums, and I've got a light. All right, let's prime it with a light. This might be a little on the light side, but what the heck, let's just go right in there with some nice juicy ink. Try to avoid that ball in the center. Just flooding the area with ink. I'm a little sloppy because I can't get my head right in there to see how I normally would. Then, if you want to have some really dark colors, it's really dark red. Actually, I'll go in with the bullet. I'm used to using a brush tip because a brush tip you can vary your lines a little bit more. I'm going to bring that red any place I have dark areas, like what would be black. Only in the center though. I don't want to have to blend that out towards the outside. Then I'm going to go in with the next color. I'm going to overlap the edges of that dark red. Bring it up this edge because there's a petal overlapping. And then I'm going to go in with this just slightly lighter color and go kind of overlap the edges and bring that out a little bit more. And even go up some of the lines, the crepey lines there, because that's kind of indicating where our shadows would be. And then I'm going to go back to the lightest one, which I probably will have to still go back and forth between the two lightest ones a little bit to have it blend. But that will give us a little bit of a blend there. Now another thing we can do, I'm just going to fill in there, is a technique called palette blending. And that's really fun. So what we do in that case is I'm just going to take the sticker sheet here where it's kind of glossy, and I'm going to scribble this darker color there, and I'm going to pick it up with my lighter marker and just kind of help ease it in there a little bit. And that really helps if you don't have a good gradation of color to use. Now you can also just pick up your color like that, and you could do a blend just like that. Get a very, very subtle blend like that. It'll be darkest where you put your marker down, and then it will get lighter as you color out. So that's another really great way to do some coloring, because it's really easy and it blends so well. And you can do that with whatever kind of marker, whatever kind of alcohol markers you have. It works great with those Sharpies or Bic markets. But I think I do need a little bit more contrast. I'm going to go right in with this marker here. Reds are a little challenging, so. And I do like red. I like the contrast. But if I have a hard time going from the first marker to the second one, then I can just pick up some color and bring it over and blend it out. So if you've used markers and you don't like them and they haven't worked well for you, try a different technique, because there's probably a technique out there that will work for you. I'm going to just do some green here in the center. A little shading on the edges maybe. Blend it. I missed a spot with the dark red, so I'm going to go right in there and fix that up. And that's, that's pretty much how I would color that. Go ahead and do the other one, and then I'm going to show you a really fun background technique that we can do with some products that you may have in your stash but maybe haven't used in a while. So it just occurred to me, I didn't prime this one, so I decided I actually would just leave the camera running and show you how I would do this. Do it just the same way I would did the leaves in the last one. And I just jumped right in with this color because I didn't, I'm sticking my hand in that ink, because I had like a little skipped ink area, and I'm like, well, I want to put something strong there. Maybe I'll even scribble a little bit of that out. Maybe I'll make this one darker and just bring this coral color right to the edge, because I think that's a really pretty color. And I don't have to have such a strong, like, I don't have such a large gap to jump from this color to the lightest color, that lighter color that we primed with. And I'll make this one a little bit more of a brighter red poppy. And because those colors are a little bit closer together, they just blend a little bit easier. And if they don't, I can pick up that color that I just put down and bring it out like that. Yeah, and that's another way to do it, you know. I'm not on a greeting card, I'm not going for a perfect blend. I'm just having fun playing with color. But I'm not going to worry about making it perfect. But if you want to, you certainly can. You certainly can. I like to sketch and paint as my art form. And I make cards as a hobby. So when I'm making cards, I'm just kind of like, I'm just playing and having fun. And I don't want to spend an hour coloring something on a card like I would if I was sketching on a sketchbook or something. But that's just me. Come to your hobbies the way that you want to, the way that makes you happy, and the way that is sustainable for you. If spending 4 hours on a card you're going to mail off, if you don't have that time, but that's not how you want to spend your time, there's nothing wrong with that. So this one's a little bit darker, has less definition than that one because I use that fourth marker that was a little bit lighter. But they're both pretty, and they both go together because we use them together. Anyway, I mean, markers are also an ephemeral medium, meaning that they are going to fade. Unless you're keeping them in a sketchbook or you're keeping them in some way that light's not going to get to them, they'll change. They'll change over time. So I'm not going to be too precious about them, I guess, is all that to say. All right, so the next technique we're going to do is so fun, and I can't wait to share it with you. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit because you're going to need to see more of my table. So I'm going to put the markers away for now. I don't need those again. And what we're going to do is get out some chalk. And these can be chalk pastel sticks and Q-tips, or they can be a palette like this. These were really popular back in the day. I don't even know if they still make them. This was by Pebbles, I think. There were a brand called Chocolates, EK Success made. But a set of stick pastels is also going to work with, like, these are pom-poms. But you can also use Q-tips, so don't feel like you have to have anything store-bought special. So what we're going to do is take some of the background stamps from my set, and we are going to stamp. We're going to stamp on here with clear ink. So this is Versamark. If you don't have Versamark and you have household glycerin, you can use household glycerin with a cosmetic sponge and dab that onto your stamp. Versamark works really well because it's sticky and clear. And because it's clear, I don't have to worry about where I stamp. I can stamp this. I can stamp this directly over my entire tag. And they'll do this burlap texture. This is really pretty. Do that on this side. And then I've got a script one. I love the script one. You can never have too many different script stamps because they just work with everything. And then I would let this dry just for not really even dry, but just you don't want it to be goopy. You don't want it to be goopy. So I'm just going to set this aside for a second. I'm going to do the same thing here. Maybe I want to do a little bit more with a script because I don't have that much space, and I do love the script. And don't worry about stamping over your image because you're not really going to see that. And if you do see a little bit of texture, then it's going to just kind of go with it. So I think it looks good. Maybe a little bit of this on the edges. This is kind of just a floral. It looks like, it kind of just looks like an old linoleum floor. And it's got rough edges, so I can kind of sneak it in and just get a little bit of on the edge. It doesn't have any harsh lines. None of these have harsh lines, these three that I'm using, so that they're really great for overlapping and building your own background as large as you want. So I think that works pretty well. All right, so bringing back our first one here, what we're going to do is get our little chalk palette or sticks of chalk, whatever you have, and we're going to find some colors that we want to add. And so I'm going to look back at my card here and see what colors do I see here. I've got pinks and greens, a little bit of purpley color, a little bit of tealy color, a darker plum color. So I'm going to kind of go by that as some inspiration. And just kind of blot in some colors. And this one has different sized not Q-tips, pom-poms. So that's kind of fun. That's kind of fun to use that. You can buy craft pom-poms and a little clip like this at the craft store. The smaller pom-poms are nice for getting into the areas. If you do accidentally get somewhere you don't want it, you can go in with an eraser when it's dry and erase it a bit. So don't worry about that. In fact, I'll grab a smaller one right now and show you what I mean. But see, the ink only really sticks to the stamping, and it does leave a little bit of color, like a little bit of a ghosting of color behind, but not a lot. And then I will rub this with a tissue to take off any extra color, and then you could spray it with some hairspray or fixative to keep it from rubbing at all, especially if you're, these are kind of like bookmarks, so I'd assume they would be used that way. That way you don't have to worry about transferring onto paper on somebody's book or anything. But you could think about what you have in your stash. You probably have some different, I want to mix the colors. I'm going to take some yellow, mix it with a little bit of green to make it a little bit lighter. You probably have some background stamps that would be really nice for this. And there we get a really pretty little montage here. And find my tissue. And there, and you can go into the tiny eraser and erase any little bits that you don't want to have. I think that's really pretty. You can also do you could even take the brown ink pad if you wanted to, and you could ink the edges. That always looks kind of nice. Makes it look kind of finished, or you can do that later. We're going to back this on something, so I just think it gives it a nice pretty effect. And then we're going to do the same thing to our poppies. And we'll look at this. I really like the teals in this one, so I think I'll try to get a bunch of teal and maybe some green in there, because green and red are opposite, and teal will look really nice there. So we'll go back to the teal sponge. I might mix it a little bit though. I think I'll take some of this green and some of these tealy blue colors and see what I get if I do that. Oh, that's really nice. I like that a lot. Maybe just some more greens on their own. Since the red is such a strong color, you can even get pretty close to it and not even go in with a smaller pom-pom, because there's enough contrast there. And you know what, if you do actually pull some of the color over there, it kind of overlaps it, almost like vellum, which looks really pretty, I think, too. So yeah, I don't think you need to worry about it being too perfect with it. So I'm going to give this a little ink as well, because I think that's looks nice. And plus, if you have any messy stamping, that will just disguise it. It'll look like it's meant to be like that. All right, I like to back these on some book pages because, you're going to see your marker through your paper. I mean, that does actually look pretty cute. You could actually outline that with a pen if you wanted to leave it like that. But, oh, that would be really cute, actually. Oh, now I'm thinking that maybe we'll do that for this one. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, that's actually a really cute idea. All right, let me go get some brown pens. I'll be right back. All right, so on the other one, I just backed these with book pages. I just glued it down to some book paper and cut it out, and that's fine. But I like the idea of just kind of doodling with a pen. But you know what? If you do this, and you don't like it, then you can always still glue book pages to the back. Just don't use a just don't use like a Sharpie or something alcohol based, because it will bleed through, and then you won't have quite the same effect, you know? It won't look quite as nice. I mean, I'm just kind of, this is just an idea I had off the just off the cuff here. Just trying to go by the lines that I have to decide where to put my new lines. That's, I mean, I kind of like that, actually. And then, let's see, this is a little bit more complex, but yeah, I like that, actually. I think that's kind of cute. And I think it's fun to follow your ideas. And you know what? Yeah, if it doesn't come out, so what? If it doesn't come out, cover it with book paper. But I actually think that's really cute. Yeah, okay, I like that. But if you don't like it, cover it with book paper. Okay, so we also, I want to put a little eyelet in here and put a bit of string. And I'm going to use my crocodile for that, if I can find it. Here it is. Oh my goodness, I lose stuff in here like you would not believe. So I'm going to use a larger sewing eyelet for this. So I'm using the larger hole punch. And these eyelets you can get at any sewing store. Probably came from Joann's. And they come in two parts, actually. So you've got a front and a back, which makes it nice because it's going to look kind of finished. I like eyelets anyway. I just think that they're, I don't know. I have a lot from the days of old day, the scrapbooking days of old day. And I just like the way they look. So you put the end with the long piece there. Can you see that? Got get an end with a short piece and an end with a long piece. Long piece goes in the front. Actually, you can just use one piece if you don't feel like doing both. The one with the short tail goes in the back like that. When you use your crocodile, you put the post. The post is going to be in the back. Whoopsie. Get back in there. The post goes to the back side. Both sides will look alright, but you will see a little split on the back side. And then you're just going to give it a good squeeze. This comes with instructions though, so just follow the instructions that come with it. And there you've got a nice tidy, like a shoelace basically. Like a shoelace. I'm going to give them one more little squeeze, I think. There. Alright. And then I'm just going to fold this ribbon in half. Put it through the front. That's why I like to use the big eyelets, the sewing ones, because it's easier to fit the ribbon through. But if you're using a tassel or string, the small ones will be fine. Or you can just punch a hole. You don't need to have an eyelet. You don't need to be fancy pants. And there, we've got that. So let's put those in our card because our time has just about come to an end here. Oh, that's cute. Now you can leave it just like that. Actually, that might even be cuter than putting the tea bag in, to be honest. I don't know. But if you want to put the tea bag in with these, you do need to do a little bit of a fold. And you can set it in like that. Actually, I think it's cute. If you want, you can make another pocket on the inside for your tea, or you can leave the tea out. You don't have to do the tea. And with this one, this is just going to slide in our little vellum sleeve here. And I love that we can kind of see it, and it's super, super cute. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed these Alice in Wonderland / Lindsay's collection of stuff cards. Remember to check out the video description for links to these products and to get the coupon code, which is Crafter15. It's on a sticky note, but man, who knows where that has ended up? I don't know. And here we got our cute little cards. There's another one around here floating around somewhere. Hope you enjoyed this. I know the card making tutorials can be few and far between here, but my heart's in the right place. I try. Oh, there you go. Anyway, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and until next time, happy crafting!